Welcome to week 6. Here we are. We have a great couple weeks ahead of us till we conclude this class. I'm going to talk a little bit about REBT, CBT, how they can be assimilated, how they can be a little bit differently. There's a couple other videos that are going to come and kind of dissect them in what they are, just as Tan does a phenomenal job laying that foundation. But CBT and RBT really look very similar in some ways. They have different expressions, but the way I like to work at them, if this is helpful to you, is the idea of understanding the ABCs of REBT: activating event, belief system, consequences. And so in that, when people are coming in, hey, tell me what's going on. Well, if we look at the case study that we just looked at, Bathsheba would be coming in telling her event. Okay, so in that, wow, how do we validate her in that situation? How do we validate her and what she's thinking? How do we validate her and what she may be thinking, what she may be choosing, all these different things? Okay, so knowing that that pain demands a response. So in those moments, those activating events happen, then what is it that she is telling herself? Because typically those conversations don't happen externally, they happen internally. We start believing something differently about ourselves. And that's how the enemy likes for it to work, so that we can actually take ourselves out of agreement with whom God says about ourselves in that moment. So if the activating event created pain demands a response. What was that response? Okay, so belief. From an ABC, activating event, belief. So if I start telling myself, based upon that, I'm not good enough, or that for Bathsheba, that she killed her husband, that she participated, that she, whatever that is, that I don't have a voice, I don't have a choice in all this, okay? So as a result of that, if that is her belief, then what are the consequences? How is she going to go live life? What is it she's going to do next? How is she going to pivot or adapt, knowing that this new belief based upon this activating event is going to change the trajectory of her life? Knowing that CBT is the idea, really in premise, is change your thought, change the expression, change your thought, change the behavior. And really is that much difference than the message of Jesus, the idea of metanoia, to change the way that we think. And so in essence, can these two be utilized and assimilated together as people walk in your office and you say, hey, what's going on? And they tell you everything of pain. Okay, so wow, that is difficult. Again, validate. And when you have validate some more. And so in that moment, the dynamic is, okay, so knowing that pain demands a response, what do you feel like you are telling yourself or thinking in that moment? What do you feel like you were feeling in that moment? And then from that, the idea is what we're looking at is the idea, what do they believe? What do they think? Why? Because that is the new assimilation of what has come into subconscious, and is trying to orient. As the mind goes, the body follows, okay? So in that, this is the reason why we want to be aware of the dynamics of what they're thinking, because the more they think it, the more it orients to a belief, okay? And if they believe it, then as a result of that, as a man believes in his heart, so is he. We understand through Stanford Medical that what we believe impacts the way we think, what we feel, what we perceive, and so on. So in all this, we want to look at the activating event and see, based upon that activating event, understanding that we are big data processing centers, what is the data that has come into us? And because of that, what are we thinking? What are we feeling? And that's why I always go to feeling first, is because that's the first threshold, and really validating that, helping them build some context on that. Why? So that they can extend grace thus forgiveness, usually internally, because they're holding themselves at an account that is typically not realistic. And it's not helpful because they're beating themselves up emotionally because they believe that they deserve it. They will continue in that state, creating a cyclical response, always beating themselves up, thinking that they deserve it. Well, where's grace? Where's forgiveness? Where is the cross represented in that very moment? So when the data comes in, that activating event is communicating something. What is it that the threshold is attempting to get them to come into a belief with? And isn't that what the enemy wants? The idea of understanding that if we can come into agreement with the enemy, thus belief, and as a result of that, that is assimilated and imprinted into the subconscious, and the subconscious to the body. If we are ministers of the gospel of reconciliation, then that dynamic of helping people think differently is necessary and needed. So what is the event that brought them into counseling, and how do we help them understand how they're thinking and what they're believing based upon that? Because just like REBT, the ABC, that C part is going to be the consequences of what's expressed from there on. If they believe it, therefore they're going to do it. If they think it, then as a result of that, that's going to formulate the idea of belief, that as a result of that, that's going to be pushed down, just as Scripture says, give it to be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, overflowing. Well, whatever is pressed down will be shaken over. We always correlate that with positive, and it should be. But the dynamic is the opposite is true as well. Negative thought, the more that I meditate on it. If I meditate on God's law day and night, therefore I shall be prosperous and successful. But the idea, if I meditate on the enemy's discombobulation of truth, then as a result of that, what does that create? What two attributes, if we orient to God's truth, prosperity and success, based upon the NIV translation, then what are the two attributes of the enemy? If we do, is it death and destruction? I don't know. But we can utilize this from the standpoint of an entry point of, okay, what is that event? What happened? What's going on? And then as they communicate that, we validate. Wow, that's difficult. Wow, that is painful. Okay, yeah. So knowing that pain demands a response, what are you feeling? What are you telling yourself right now? And what we're looking for are emotions that we can start validating, helping them validate, just as we talked about the idea of mind-body connection. But we're also looking for discombobulational ways of thinking. I'm a loser. Nobody likes me. Anything that is outside the parameter of what God would say about them. Wow. And when we hear it, nope, that's wrong. Nope, Scripture says. I guess you could do it that way, but boy, I wouldn't. Why? Because the idea of meeting people where they are and challenging them with sensitivity. Okay? I could see how, based upon what you're going through, how somebody could come to that conclusion, but as a result of that, do you feel like you're beating yourself up? Do you feel like that way of thinking is productive? Wow, that's a lot, and it sounds to me like you're beating yourself up based upon the way you're thinking about yourself right now. So if people that you love are sitting near you and heard you thinking about that, how do you think that they would respond to you right now? If you heard someone that you love experiencing something and they had this similar thought, how would you respond to them right now? And what we're wanting to do, like I had a mentor that says, we all doubt innately, but a lot of times we're doubting the wrong things instead of the right things. So we come along and help people doubt the right things instead of the wrong things. So in that very moment, whatever it is that they're thinking or doubting or believing, we look at helping them doubt. We empower them by different ways of communicating, but validating. Not, well, yeah, I can see why you would think you're dumb. No. That is, well, Brady, that's validational. Yes, but we don't want to validate in a way that they can reaffirm their very belief. We want to validate in a way that allows them to know, hey, I see you in your pain. But is that accurate? Questions like, well, you know what? Understandably so, because, man, that pain is intense and it's trying to tell you something. But what if that's not true? I know we're asking ourselves and we're declaring that this is truth, but what if that's not true? What if that's not true? We help people doubt the right things instead of the wrong things. And so REBT is a great entry point. You can look at the consequences and say, hey, so here's what's taking place. Oh, hey, help me. How did we come to that conclusion? And then what we're doing is we have infiltrated ourselves into the conversation where a conclusion has happened and we're working our way back. Okay, well, so how did we, well, my thought process has been this. Oh, really interesting. So do you feel like you believe that? Yeah, okay. So when in time did we start believing that? Oh, when I was 3. Oh, there's the activating event. And so the benefit of ABC is that we don't have to go A, B, and C just as the alphabet, is linear. But the idea of we can interject in any 3 parts. Because really what we're wanting to do is challenge. The more that it's been introduced, the more that they meditated on it, the more that it's back in the back of their mind, it's kind of the equivalent of them having territory, an acre field, and then back over there digging. Every time that they're thinking about it, they're not even aware. And as a result of that, they've created this big, deep trench for however long. a week, 2 weeks, 10 months, 5 years. And all of a sudden, we just got to start thinking differently based upon, don't think that way, think about this way. And this is a lot of times what we hear within substitution. Don't think about this, think about this. Okay, well, how sustainable is that if that's based upon ourself and the idea of not recognizing the pain first, but to just acknowledge, oh, yeah, we did that, but I'm going to go, okay. So we're trenching out new territory in the subconscious. And as a result of that, well, Brady, I feel like even though I'm moving forward in this new entrenched way of thinking, man, I keep going back to these old ways. Yeah, it makes sense. Peter did as well. How long have we been thinking about? And then this has happened 12 years. Okay. And so we've been doing this new way of thinking for 2 weeks. Okay. That makes sense. Thoughts like water travel the path of least resistance. So if we've been digging over here for a long, long time by the way we've thinking and meditated, then the idea we're trying to think differently based upon this, then as a result of that, we're going to wear the individual out. So what's the answer? The idea of not just changing the way we think, but acknowledging old ways of thinking, owning them, inviting God into them. Why? So he can cover up those old pathways. So therefore, he can give us a new thought and we can start orienting thinking based upon that and entrenching that so that therefore that becomes the path of least resistance. And so our thoughts actually orient to that new way. So the idea of REBT creates the opportunity of an entry point of helping a client. And then the idea of CBT of helping them think differently about that, but how? Now you can go based upon, okay, now you're aware of this, don't think about that, think about this. Okay, if that's what you want. One thing that I've come to understand in a lot of ways is the idea of allowing them to acknowledge and own and invite God in will allow them to be able to entrench a new pathway. New pathways can be created without doing that. But how sustainable are they going to be? When you find yourself in the field and people are saying, Brady, boy, I've tried this whole positivity, mindfulness, meditational thing, but it really doesn't seem like sustainable. I keep going back to these old ways. Yeah. Well, Brady, that doesn't sound very encouraging. Why do you say yeah? Deep down in I'm not surprised. Why? Because until that is dealt with, processed, the idea of entrenching new, wow. That means if that's taken 12 years to dig based upon meditating, based upon thinking about it, is it going to take equally amount of time, actually more, to create a deeper, more fluid pathway than that? But that's not going to be very encouraging. Oh, great. So you've been sitting in this way of thinking for 12 years. So you've been digging out this old pathway for 12 years. So guess what? 12 years in a day, yep, should do the trick. Beg your pardon? Acknowledge. Own. Invite, express, meditate. We see this in Jesus in the garden. He was aware of what he was feeling. He declared, he owned in the moment. Of course, God was invited in, and as a result of that, guess what? He expressed, he got up and started moving towards. Now he had to come back and he oriented 2 additional times. So that may take us multiple times to create new ways of thinking. Well, did Jesus have old pathways? No, but just even in the midst of continuing to move forward and the pain that stood before him created the need of him addressing them with the Father 3 times, at least based upon my purpose. Most people are willing, okay, Brady, I get this. And then when they meet that threshold, Brady, I tried that, it didn't work. Oh, how long have we been trying to move forward in this new way of thinking? 2 weeks. Great, that's awesome. Hey, awesome. How old's this old one been away? 3 years. 2 weeks, 3 years. It really doesn't equate. So are you telling me I have to do 3 years of that? Well, if we want to go about it from a traditionary measurement, and as a result of that, just constantly putting all of our attention and focus on this, but as a result of that, there's going to be so much, and knowing this is a million times stronger than this, then as a result of that, it's probably not going to be 3 years. It's probably going to be a lot longer than that. Why? Because the idea of how this is going to have to fight this. That's what the enemy wants. He wants to create mental exhaustion to the point of apathy, to the point of giving up, to the point of assimilating him in so that he can have territory, power, authority, dominion. How do we push back on that? By taking the greatness of these two and being able to utilize them in a way that's going to be impactful to help people think differently. How? Well, you get to determine that, what that looks like. And this is the reason why your final is going to look the way it is set up, the way it is. You can use these two. You can use a culmination, whatever that looks like. But you get to determine that to see how it's going to impact those around you, or at least the person that you're going to be seeing. And then as a result of that, as you continue to move forward, you have a great working understanding and foundation of how to apply these different types of theories in a way that's going to be benefiting you, not only in your academic career, but also your professional career, whether that's pastoring, whether that's counseling, whatever that may be. REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, Cognitive Behavioral. The idea is to change the thought, to change the behavior. Great. How? What does that look like? What techniques? And again, Tan goes into all that. He goes into the same thing with REBT. So I'm going to let you go in there and unpack that, look at that. But the idea of activating event, there's an opportunity, a door to open, to walk through, to be able to impact them. B, a belief system, really could attack that. C, the consequence, and really looking at it, all three dynamics. And when I'm getting into a session, I'm looking for these three open doors to see which door I get to walk through. And then I'm working on the idea of challenging their belief by challenging them to think differently by what? Validating and acknowledging the very emotions and helping them to address that, allow mind and body to come together so that therefore they can invite God into that, so that therefore he can give them a new thought, a new way of thinking, and they can start meditating on that over and over and over and over and over again as they continue to build a new pathway, while they continue to acknowledge and allow the dirt of that to be poured into that old hole, that old way of thinking. And as a result of that, continue this process, just as Jesus did in the garden, that actually allowed him and empowered him to get to the cross. So if it empowered Jesus to get to the cross, the very place that he maybe struggled, I don't know if that's even an appropriate word, but let's use it, to get to the cross. What does that look like for you and I? To not only use it in our personal life, but for us sitting across from other individuals to help them. Okay, so week 6, I know I gave you a little bit. Hopefully that was good. Look forward to reading your Mach 3 counseling sessions. I think that they're going to be excellent. I know the first 2 have. Week 6, here we go. Week 6, there we go. Week 6, here we go. Excited? Hope you're doing well. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance on you and give you peace in everything that you have going on, not only in this class, not only in everything else there at King's, not only everything that you have going on in your life. God bless you. May his overwhelming presence impact you as you study and as you apply, as you learn to take a step in acknowledging who he's created and designed you to be. You are amazing, and it's amazing that you want to be in a field where you get to sit across from other individuals and impact them. The spirit of counsel, may the spirit of counsel constantly be on you to impact people. Hey, it is great that you are in this field. I am so grateful that you are in this field. In my heart, there's not a better field than being the helping profession. And I'm so grateful that you're a part of this, and I'm excited to get to hear what you're going to do in it. And I'm excited about getting to learn from you, ladies and gentlemen, as y'all get out there, as you continue to impact the kingdom, and we get to hear about what God's not only doing in you and through you. I'm excited about getting to learn from you as well. Hey, have a great week 6. Let's go. Okay, bye.